In February, Jordanians took to the streets of the capital city of Amman to rail against government corruption and the monarchy's refusal to usher in wholesale political reforms. By the standards of many protests that have engulfed the Middle East, it was a small, if spirited, showing, but it raises a question once again for a region in turmoil. How much change, and how fast? Revolutionary change plunged Libya into chaos, and Syria into civil war. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Saudi Arabia has banned protest and sworn off any changes at all in government or manner of governing. Jordan, a tiny kingdom located in the strategic heart of the Middle East, is arguing over a middle path. The issue came to a head in February when Jordan staged parliamentary elections. To the king, the poll was a seminal event. On the other hand, critics, including an active Muslim Brotherhood contingent, boycotted in protest.
Jordan held elections just a few weeks ago in what the king said would usher in a new era of reform for the country. But for the monarchy, this is very much a process of evolution, not revolution, as the king likes to say. For critics of the monarchy, like these demonstrators behind me in downtown Amman on a Friday after prayers, it's not really about revolution either, but they'd like to see much deeper reform and much faster change in Jordan.
Jordan has been squeezed mightily by the Arab uprisings. The chaotic situation in post-revolutionary Egypt has cut off cheap energy supplies that come from Jordan's south. To the north, thousands of refugees fleeing the conflict in Syria cross into Jordan daily, putting huge stresses on the country's fragile infrastructure. When the government raised energy prices in November, large demonstrations were the result. A few even featured direct criticism of the king, previously unheard of in Jordan. For some analysts, this kind of outcry changed the game in Jordan for good.
I think Jordan after November 13th is totally different than before that date. People went to the streets, thousands of them. This brought different new groups to the demonstrations, young people without any political affiliation.
The government is betting that the election and the new parliament will be enough change for now. Protests have indeed tailed off since the vote, and some Jordanians are relieved to see that.
Prices are high. Jordanian citizens are suffering because of the economic conditions. There is legislation that needs to be reconsidered, but that does not mean what happened in other countries takes place in Jordan.
But opponents of the government haven't given up either. They point out that the government is likely to stir up the population again when it has to raise electricity prices in April as part of its economic plan. The only solution, they say, is more reform, faster.
There's no other way out for Jordan and the Jordanians unless the political reforms take place. And we mean by that a democratic electoral law plus constitutional reforms which will give back the power to the people of Jordan.
For the Wall Street Journal, this is Bill Spindle in Amman, Jordan.